As the ceasefire holds in Gaza, all eyes are now set on Egypt as it hosts an international peace summit in the Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh on Monday. Leaders from more than 20 countries participating in the summit, co-chaired by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his American counterpart Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Israel has said it will not send any representative to the peace summit in Egypt. DD India's Dheeraj Das gets you more.
Egypt will host an international summit on Monday in the Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh, aimed at finalizing a peace agreement to end the Gaza conflict. US President Donald Trump and his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will chair the peace summit, also to be attended by more than 20 world leaders. According to Egypt's presidential spokesperson, the peace summit will aim to end the war in the Gaza Strip, enhance efforts to achieve peace and stability in the Middle East, and usher in a new era of regional security and stability. On Sunday, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry said a document ending the war in the Gaza Strip was expected to be signed during the historic gathering. The summit was aimed at inaugurating a new chapter of peace and security and alleviating the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he would attend the summit. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni, and Pedro Sanchez of Spain would also be present at the peace summit. French President Emmanuel Macron and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will also travel to Sharm el-Sheikh. Jordan's King Abdullah II is also expected to attend the summit. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz also confirmed that he will attend the summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. The European Council will be represented by its President Antonio Costa. India will be represented by Minister of State for External Affairs Kirtivardhan Singh in the summit. But there was no immediate word on whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would participate, while Hamas has said it will not take part in the summit. Prior to the peace summit in Egypt, US President Donald Trump will be in Israel on Monday morning and address the Knesset. He is also expected to meet with the families of the hostages. Billboards and banners thanking Trump filled the streets and squares in Tel Aviv ahead of his summit, when hostages held by Hamas for over 2 years are expected to be released under a US brokered deal.
We are on the cusp of true peace in the Middle East, really for the first time in my lifetime. Certainly, these 20 hostages are going to come home to their families, George. I think this is a great moment for our country. Our country should be proud of our diplomats who made this happen. It's really a great moment for the world, too, which is why the president's going to go over there and celebrate with these hostages. But it's a great thing, and I'm very excited about it.
The high-level gathering comes as Washington pushes for an agreement brokered by the United States to formally end months of conflict between Israel and Hamas, following a series of temporary ceasefires and humanitarian negotiations. The Sharm el-Sheikh summit could mark a turning point if the proposed deal is signed, potentially paving the way for post-war reconstruction and renewed diplomatic engagement across the West Asia region. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.
And US President Donald Trump embarked on a high-stake peace trip to Israel and Egypt, declaring the war is over in Gaza.
The war is over. The war is over, okay? You understand that? Everybody wants to be a part of it. I've had calls from all of the leaders of countries, they all want to be a part. I mean, the leaders themselves, they're not going to send somebody, they want to be a part of it.
And speaking in a televised address on Sunday evening, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he hoped the captives' release would be a moment of unity for the country despite controversy over his handling of the conflict.
אזרחי ישראל, אחיי ואחיותיי, זהו ערב.
This is an emotional evening, an evening of tears, an evening of joy, because tomorrow our children will return to our borders. Tomorrow is the beginning of a new path, a path of rebuilding, a path of healing, and I hope a path of united hearts. We achieved tremendous victories, victories that amazed the whole world, and I want to tell you, wherever we fought, we won. But at the same time, I must tell you, the fight is not over. Very large security challenges still lie before us.
ואני מקווה שגם בתקופה שבפתח יש לנו את כל הסיבות לשים אותן בצד.
All right, DD India, Shubhendu Ghosh has been tracking this story. He is joining us on the phone line. Hi, Shubhendu. A fragile calm has finally descended over Gaza. Would you describe this current situation as true peace or merely a pause in violence, a temporary lull?
Hello, Abhishek. Fragile is a good word to use. The situation that is unfolding in West Asia and Middle East. It is a historic moment nonetheless. It is the first real attempt, a seemingly successful attempt at achieving ceasefire. And ceasefire is different from long-term peace. It's been over 2 years of brutal fighting. Last 7th of October, the conflict completed 2 years. So this is a historic moment. A lot of prisoners, a lot of hostages will get to go home. In fact, as we're tracking, the Israeli hostages in Gaza are expected to be released soon. So those visuals should, in fact, flood screens globally in a short while from now. And around 2,000 prisoners and detainees, Palestinian, in Israeli jails are also going to be released. So that is an important moment. The ceasefire also appears to be holding at the moment, Abhishek. But just referring to the use of word fragile that you made and why it is important is that although one must see the optimism in the present moment, it is only the first phase of President Donald Trump proposed a detailed 20-point agenda. The bigger picture of long-term peace, of the deep divide that runs and the trust deficit that runs between Israel and Palestine, Palestinians, the resolution of that conflict still doesn't appear the roadmap doesn't appear very clear. There is no clear timeline of disarmament of Hamas or Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. What will the future? The last point of the 20-point agenda that Trump presented calls for a state, a Palestinian state that is gaining momentum in recent days. But there's no clear path, no timeline. So the bigger picture remains unclear. Nonetheless, the present moment, very historic, Abhishek.
Yes, very historic. And Trump, in fact, says that the war is over. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs, Shubhendu. We also have Professor Anshu Joshi, School of International Studies, with us. Welcome, Professor Joshi. Appreciate you giving us your precious time. Professor Anshu, after 2 years of relentless conflict, a fragile calm, fragile is the word, it has finally descended over Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu calls this a moment of unity. And Trump, in fact, goes on to say that this is an end of war. War is over.
Abhishek, though it is good to see that at least we can see a pause in the war at this moment, as the first phase of this historic entire peace agreement between Hamas and Israel is on, and people have started returning to their homes in and around Gaza and in Palestine, of course. And now Israel is all set to release almost, I think, 2,000 plus prisoners, and Hamas is also set to free Israeli prisoners that it has, and some of them are already dead. However, the larger picture would be clear in next couple of days, as in this first phase, Abhishek, of this entire peace agreement of having 20 points is all focused on humanitarian angle and humanitarian aid and support for the people. In the second phase, it would be interesting to see whether the Arab countries that have fueled proxies like Hamas so far, will they be ready, like countries like Iran, will they be ready to ask Hamas to diffuse itself, to leave Gaza and Palestine, and to become politically inactive in Palestine? Because it is one of the key points of this 20 points agenda that Trump has presented. And it also seeks complete disarmament from both the sides, including Israeli army. So whether Israel would also agree to this or not also remains a critical question. The third critical question is, even if proxies like Hamas come to an end, but there are speculations that in future, with some other name, the same people, same faces, might make another proxy group like Hamas. So at the moment, at least this entire situation is seen from a positive angle, as in it opens a window of opportunity to pause the war. So the war has paused. But let's see how and when it comes to an end. That remains the question.
It is a historic step, but again, like you said, next 24 to 48 hours will be very crucial. But Professor Joshi, what are the main challenges to maintaining this fragile peace on both sides, Gaza and Israel?
First and foremost, Abhishek, I do see a lack of trust between the two parties. That is the most significant challenge that both Israel and Palestine have to deal with. Secondly, we do see a big involvement of other Arab countries into, as in I just mentioned, into fueling proxies, not only like Hamas, but also Hezbollah, Houthis, and there are many proxy groups in this area that are active. So even by ending the war, it does not guarantee peace and security of West Asian region. Third challenge comes from this acknowledgement of Palestine's point of view, as in there Israel seems to be stuck. And countries like India have time and again stated that only by acknowledging Palestine and by coming up with a two-state solution in the area, peace can prevail. But that looks like a challenge. The fourth important challenge is related to complete disarmament from both the sides, Abhishek, particularly in Gaza region. Because Hamas would also not like to leave the region, as well as Israel will also will not like to leave the posts or the areas that it has already won. And last but not the least, as I already stated, even by making Hamas politically inactive from Palestine, which is a critical point of this entire agreement, and I don't know whether Hamas would agree to it or not. There seems to be a division within Hamas at this moment. Even if Hamas agrees to deactivate from Palestine, as in it will not take part in future elections or it will not do anything related to governance in Palestine, there are no guarantees that countries like Iran will not prepare or promote or nurture another proxy group like Hamas in future. So by and large, at this moment, we do see a ray of hope, but there are critical challenges associated to make this entire agreement a successful one, and it would need time and patience, Abhishek. So it would be interesting to see that how situation unfolds in, say, next a week of time.
Absolutely, and these are the visuals that we are showing you. The hostages, Hamas has also published names of Israeli hostages to be released. We just showed you the names of the hostages, and these are the live visuals we are getting you. But again, Professor Joshi, what do you think happens next on the ground? Does the Israeli military pull back entirely or maintain a presence along Gaza's borders?
Abhishek, whatever news are coming at the moment, the leaders are getting ready in for this Gaza summit, and our Prime Minister was also invited by Egypt. However, our MOS External Affairs would be participating in this entire summit. The first phase is starting from today, and there would be an exchange of prisoners, and we all are hoping that people should reach their homes all safe. And there are some dead prisoners also that are under the capture of Hamas at the moment, so they will also be returned to Israel. After this first phase, the second phase would be all about complete demilitarization and disarmament of the region. And there, as I said, there are certain challenges. So we would be able to see only after, say, a day or two in next 24 to 48 hours that how the situation unfolds, whether Hamas leaves the region or not, and whether Israel leaves the region or not. And after exchange of prisoners, Abhishek, Israel, in case Hamas does not fulfill the points that it agreed to earlier, Israel would be all free to again attack Hamas. So there are such kind of speculations also that in case Hamas does not leave Gaza and, does not leave the posts that it has captured, in that case, Israel would be all free to again, attack Hamas. And if that happens, then another chapter of war will open. So at the moment, it is very difficult to say that what will happen. It's only interesting to observe how both the parties and what do they do in next, 2 days of time.
Absolutely. It's a historic step, like you said. But yes, next few days, next 24 to 48 hours would be very crucial. But again, you spoke about the upcoming peace summit, Professor Joshi. Given the fragile nature of the ceasefire, if you may call it, and Israel's decision not to attend the upcoming peace summit in Egypt, What do you think are the implications for the broader peace process in the region, as most of the world leaders are attending?
Yes, most of the world leaders are attending this summit, Abhishek. It's a very crucial one wherein all the points related to the whole peace agreement that is supposed to be signed by both Israel and Hamas would be discussed. And there are critical points related with not only associated with exchange of prisoners, but the future political process of Palestine as well. And there Israel has a question mark. Israel so far is not agreeing to this particular term to acknowledge Palestine as a sovereign country. And that is where countries like India have time and again stated that Israel also will have to understand, on one hand, when countries like India support Hamas-free Palestine, on the other hand, it is expected from Israel also to understand that the land also belongs to Palestine and Palestinians. And that's where Israel also will have to accommodate, acknowledge and support Palestine as a sovereign country. But so far, there seems to be like a situation of, I would say, flux, and there are apprehensions. There is a situation of mistrust between the parties. And that is why, though most of the global leaders are going to, attend this particular summit, but there are still unresolved questions to be answered. And Trump would be there, and Trump is like, what should I say? Trump is like claiming to be the champion of this entire peace process. And he is like, time and again, he's making the statements that he is bringing this war to an end, which is good, that war should end by like whatsoever means. However, how these points are agreed between the parties still remains the questions. And in case one of these critical points, if not agreed by one of the parties, in that case, the whole peace process will stuck. So let's see that how the situation unfolds, Abhishek.
Absolutely. There are unresolved questions need to be answered. There are a lot of apprehensions also. But Professor Joshi, what do you think? What role have regional players like Egypt, Qatar or Turkey played in facilitating this pause in violence?
It was commendable to see in past few weeks how Turkey, Egypt, Qatar have played a role in providing their, land for mediating or having discussions to end this war to an end, or at least to announce truce in this war. And that's where this, in this context, this Gaza summit is also very important. And Egypt has extended its invite to the global leaders to attend this summit to discuss all the critical points related to peace agreement that is going to be signed between both Israel and Hamas. And as regional players, Abhishek, it's not only like from like in the whole mediation process, we also have to understand that this conflict is not new, or this conflict has not emerged or cropped up in a day or two. It's like kind of a conflictual situation that West Asian region has observed for many, many years, Abhishek, and there are multiple angles and reasons involved for the same. And there, when we look at different regional players, they have their own national interests to secure. And that's where I do see a very complex situation in the region. For example, we do see Iran playing a role of promoting proxies like Houthis, or for that matter Hezbollah, or for that matter Hamas. And we have also seen a direct conflict between United States of America and Iran here. However, Iran has its own national interests when it comes to the regional security at the moment, Abhishek. Yeah. And that is why this is being speculated that Iran will play a positive role in convincing Hamas to like agree to the term of not getting into any political process or mechanism of Palestine in future. You see countries like Qatar, where America has a prominent base, and we have seen that how in recent past Israel attacked Doha, and from there the whole situation deteriorated. OIC countries met, they had an emergency meeting, and after that we also saw a historic defense pact being signed between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. So all in all, we can see that at the moment all these countries have their own value and their own role to play. However, we also have to look at them with a cautious point of view, as in what kind of role would they play in future in context of promoting peace and security, as in most of these nations at the moment are involved in promoting different terrorist organizations, including Hamas.
All right, so we are showing you, these are the live visuals that we were showing you. Handover of Israeli hostages set to begin in Gaza. On the left side, you can see, left side of the screen, you can see visuals from Khan Yunis, and right side from Tel Aviv. Handover of Israeli hostages set to begin in Gaza as Hamas releases names of those being freed. So the handover of 48 Israeli hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive, is expected to begin in Gaza shortly, 10:30